Also 2017's peak, right? We're a little bit below that. We had a blow off top in 2017. We're a little bit below that. But if you look at what happened prior, okay, in 2015, 2016, yeah, it was a little bit below the prior top from 2013. And guess what happened? Right? We're looking at the same situation. So, yeah, don't ignore that. The last 5 years, okay? You look at percentage supply, last active within the last 5 years, 25% have not moved. That's an enormous amount. If you go to 1 year, if you just short into 1 year, we're talking about 67%. Okay? So, bottom line is the number of holders, the ones that are holding, just are not going away. Okay? And out of the circulating supply that we have right now, right around 19 something million, very little of it is actually being circulated. Okay, so just keep that in mind. It seems like, oh, there's so many Bitcoins around. No, there isn't. There actually isn't. There's not enough Bitcoin right now for all the millionaires out there in the world. So think about that. Even if every millionaire out in the world wanted to buy one Bitcoin, they couldn't, because there's just not enough. There's so many that's just hoarded or stocked away in cold wallets. So, interesting fact. And then this is also interesting. A lot of you guys do follow like the DXY, the S&P 500, NASDAQ, right? There's definitely a correlation. And we're all trying to decouple. We're waiting for the day for Bitcoin to decouple away from these legacy markets and assets, right? But here's the thing. If you look at it right now, the correlation has kind of broken. You know why? Because of FTX. If we didn't have FTX, seeing how the DXY is coming down and seeing how NASDAQ and S&P is actually going up, Bitcoin should actually be valued way higher than where it is now. It should be around between 20 and 25,000, because that's where we were. We were just there before the FTX collapse. But you know what? Things happen. Shit happens, right? What does that mean? Well, that means we're just presented with a better buying opportunity right now. We know that Bitcoin's going to go up. The scarcity factor is definitely in play. There's not that many Bitcoin out there, and the demand is still increasing, right? So don't let shenanigans like FTX scare you out of the market. It's just a matter of time we reverse and things get better, and we will get past this. We always do. We always do. Let's just get started with this. I saw this headline, and it got me thinking. So today, one of the top executives from Goldman Sachs says they're looking to buy distressed crypto firms after the FTX collapse. Okay, so this executive, not the CEO, David Solomon, but Matthew McDermott, said that the firm is ready doing due diligence on crypto firms, and hey, you know, sounds great. Buy things when they are low, right? Normally I would say, yeah, that's the right way to do it. You want to buy. You want to buy when things are low, right? That's what the big boys do, and it sounds legit. But then it got me thinking, didn't I read about this connection not too long ago? And I think a lot of people forgot about the fact that, so the CEO, David Solomon, and Sam Bankman-Fried did meet back in April. In fact, David Solomon even flew out to the Bahamas, and they had a good chat in that $35 million mansion that SBF still is living in. And they talked a lot about regulators, about the CFTC, about how to push things forward. And remember the SBF bill? Remember that bill? Well, you know what? Goldman Sachs was advising FTX about that. Because back then, FTX was valued at $32 billion. Seemed like they were on top of the world. Okay? And FTX wanted to go even more into commodities trading, futures trading. Right? They were talking with the CFTC already. And of course, SBF was also working on that bill, which basically gave FTX more special treatment and gave more authority to really centralize exchanges and really try to kill DeFi, right? And that bill is still swirling around. But the two definitely hashed it out. So what happened to due diligence back then, right? It seemed like back then when Goldman, they were desperate to get in, I guess. They just thought, hey, let's just partner up with the biggest crypto company, it seems like, in the world. But that obviously didn't pan out. But still, it makes me wonder. What did they really talk about? But the connection doesn't just stop with SBF, though. So a lot of you guys know that Caroline, well, both SBF and Caroline Ellison, both their parents are like well-established people within the financial industry, let's just say. Caroline's father, Glenn Ellison, who taught at MIT, of course, he has that connection with Gary Gensler. So you could see one was working with the CFTC and then one was working the SEC. This is how they thought they could dominate the world, and they're all connected. So Glenn Ellison, MIT professor, he definitely had a lot of chat with Gary while Gary was there. But also, you look at this picture. This is Gary Ellison on the left side here. And you know who that guy, the other guy, is? Well, he's a top lawyer from Goldman Sachs. Okay, so there's also definitely a connection there. Goldman definitely wanted to get in. And plus, they may have known a lot of the stuff that was happening already. And they were all colluding, trying to make something happen. I don't know at this point. It definitely seems like they're all connected in some way. So I'm going to keep digging into this, because I don't think people have paid enough attention to this. And also, I mentioned about distressed companies, right? It's kind of weird also because earlier this year, it was also reported that Goldman Sachs was trying to buy Celsius. Like, of all companies, they wanted to buy Celsius, and they could still be bidding for Celsius, right? So again, I haven't dug enough into if there's any connection between Alex Schmisinski and Goldman, right? But it seems like Goldman has been behind the scenes, maybe pretending like they're guiding these companies, but really guiding them to the ground. And I do think there's some kind of connection there that I'm going to keep digging into. But I just wanted to kind of connect the dots a little bit for you guys, because let's not forget that Goldman Sachs talked with SBF, specifically their CEO, David Solomon himself, not even like a executive, not even a lower level person. The top dog, the CEO of Goldman Sachs, actually met with SBF, and they planned out a lot of stuff. Obviously, none of it has come true, but now they're looking at, well, let's just go ahead and buy everything. So something wrong there. All right, so I did want to lead off with that. What else is going on today? Well, there's, of course, a lot of stuff going on. As for Bitcoin, there are still a lot of market researchers, a lot of analysts, a lot of gurus, that are making predictions. We're nearing the end of the year. We still have some time. It's still the first week of December, so it's not too late to see a Santa rally, but many are already guessing what's going to come in 2023. Well, at least according to this person, they're thinking that this is what's going to happen. So this has to do with the rate hike. So back in 2020, when Bitcoin had that pandemic drop, the COVID drop, right? Guess what also dropped at that time? Rates dropped. Rates dropped basically to zero. And whenever the Fed fund rate drops, that means everything starts dropping in terms of anything that has a rate, right? The prime rate for mortgages goes down. Lending rates go down. Credit card rates goes down. Everything goes down, right? So it spurs up the economy. And guess what happened with Bitcoin afterwards? It just starts skyrocketing. And not just Bitcoin, but also equities in general, right? So that is what's anticipated in 2023. As these rate hikes start peaking, many are predicting that the Fed will have to truly pivot and start cutting again. And whenever again, the rate is cut, usually that means good things. So, um, this researcher thinks that in 2023, at least the second half of 23, could be tremendous, and we could see a tremendous rise back up. Maybe not to all-time high, but pretty substantial run. And I do agree. I do think 2023, not the first half, 2023's second half is going to be quite good. Now, some people disagree because they think that recession will definitely be much worse in 2023. I just don't see that at this point. I do think that we will recover. I think the U.S. economy is definitely still strong, despite how weak it looks right now. And it could get weaker, but overall, the U.S. economy is still quite strong, especially compared to some of the other nations around the world, like countries in Europe and like countries in Asia. They're just not doing nearly as well. So, want to start out with that. Also, looking at Bitcoin, if you look at, all right, what else is going on today? Let's see. As for some crypto stuff, I saw this, a controversial proposal from SushiSwap. SushiSwap had they had such a bad year in 2022. I mean, there's so much stuff happening. They almost went under, and then someone had to come in and rescue them. And there was just a lot of bad stuff with Sushi. But anyways, they're out of money again. So now they're proposing to, right now they take about 10% of the rewards, which is X Sushi, and to keep that in the treasury and to give out 90%. Now they want to propose to change that to 100% of the X Sushi will go to the treasury wallet for at least a year because they are out of money. So whenever you hear like a DEX make a proposal like that, first of all, no one's going to agree to that because no one wants to go from earning rewards to no rewards at all. So then what's the point of holding on to the token, right? And second of all, when you hear about a project really struggle with money, that means, they're not good with money management. So I don't know what's going to happen with Sushi, but there's definitely some outrage, some controversy once again with it. This is great. Strike, which is a payment company utilizing Lightning Network, they're enabling payments to 3 African countries, and they just continue to grow. And they're the only player in the game that really utilizes Lightning Network in this capacity. Others have started chiming in, started dabbing with Lightning Network, but Strike is the one that's on top of it. They kind of pioneered it, and they're moving forward. So good for them. Good for them. GameStop is cutting more staff, so I guess all the meme stock traders didn't really help them a whole lot. Maybe a little bit, but now they are cutting staff, including crypto wallet engineers, which unfortunately is not a good thing. GameStop also getting involved with NFTs, involved with Loopring and Immutable X, and the NFT marketplace. I don't hear anyone talk about it, so I don't know if that did anything for them at all. But yeah, not looking good for them. What else is there? I did see this. TSMC is upping their investment in Arizona, so they are planning on building a second chip plant in the U.S. Remember earlier this year how Pelosi visited Taiwan and everyone thought, what the hell was she doing? Why was she going there? This is the reason why. Because she wanted to make sure that TSMC was going to continue to build their plant in Arizona, and now they're building a second plant. Okay, and TSMC, if you're not familiar, they're one of the biggest semiconductor companies in the world. And why we have all these supply chain issues with like cars and stuff like that, it's because of chips. Chips are very, very hard to come by these days for some reason. But having chip plants built in the U.S., employing American workers, right, will only strengthen our capacity, our supply. And the chips go from cars to computers to mobile phones. I mean, to everything that we're using today uses these semiconductor chips. So I think this is going to be pretty good. Pretty good. Yeah, Michael Saylor commenting blast SBF. I don't think anyone finds this to be a surprise. And also, CZ is blasting SBF as one of the greatest fraudsters in history. Again, no surprise. There's no one coming to SBF's defense at this point. So I don't think any of these these blasts are a surprise anymore. But I do think there's an interesting tie with Goldman, though. I do think there's something going on there. So got to keep digging and see what that may be.